Honestly, no. I gotta be blunt, jumping right into the video. I don't think Lyft Maps is worth it at all. I got this email today saying, hey, guess what? We have a new maps feature, which I will say caught me off guard. I'll explain why. And they said, oh, we have improved routes. It's easier to pick people up. You can see which side of the street the person is on. And also, as a side note, I love this random animation on it. So that is cool. But I gotta be honest, I don't think there's any advantage to using Lyft Maps. Now, the reason why this surprises me is because back in the day when I first started driving, Lyft automatically connected to third-party apps. Apple Maps, Waze, Google Maps, etc. And Uber had its own built-in GPS, which was horrible. It still is pretty bad. It's gotten better. But back in the day, it was atrocious. And I remember manually having to either like copy and paste the address, which sometimes was tricky to do on the Uber app, especially, years ago. So I remember having to manually go to Google Maps, type in the person's address when going to their destination. And I was like, hey, this manual process of typing in the address is actually faster, even though it wastes, like 30 seconds to do it. It's faster than using the Uber GPS, which is just horrible. And it seemed like Lyft was like, you know what? We're gonna leave the maps and the GPS analytics up to the experts. As in Google Maps and Waze, Apple Maps, I still don't trust completely. But for me, I'm personally always been a massive Google Maps fan. I love the app. And I want to say, as a side note, this video is not sponsored by Google, but that'd be pretty awesome. Maybe someday. But anyway, Google Maps all the way. I still don't know why Lyft did this. With all the different things going on in ride sharing, I just feel like this is a huge waste of time, R&D, payroll. I don't really see the point. Now, is there some advantages to it? I always like to look at both sides. I'd say only two I can really think of, and that is one, you can see which side of the street the person's on. That is a good feature, but being honest, I feel like that I've never really had an issue finding somebody. Like, let's say I drove up and they said, hey, we're here. And I'm like, hey, just letting you know I'm right here. Usually, the worst that happens is they say, hey, sorry, I'm across the street. And I'll either pull around or, which is typically easier, they will cross the street to me. So yes, you can see which side of the street they're on, but even still, if let's say I'm coming the opposite direction, they still have to cross the street or I still have to loop around. So either way, I don't feel like that's a huge improvement. I mean, again, just to me. And the second thing is having it be integrated with the Lyft app. That is pretty useful because, app switching is kind of annoying, especially when driving. I usually have Google Maps pulled up, Lyft and Uber, and Pandora, those four. I'm just constantly used to bounce around between so many different apps, and sometimes I'll add a fifth one is the podcast app. I love listening to podcasts, and this can be annoying, but like say if I'm driving to pick somebody up, I'll usually have the podcast app on just to listen to a podcast. Once they get in my car or when I approach their place, pause the podcast, pull up Pandora, play music, have them in the car when I'm driving, because I feel like a podcast is kind of boring, so I like to let the passenger listen to music. And then after that point, when they drop them off, turn back on the podcast. So I'm running 5 different apps, and I'm just kind of used to that. So I get maybe Lyft saying, hey, everything is in-house, but even so, I just gotta say, Google Maps is the true expert. And I feel like if anything with Lyft, just like when the Uber GPS rolled out years ago, you're gonna maybe go to the wrong destination, which happened to me when driving with the Uber GPS. You may go the wrong direction. I know they say that they're factoring things like traffic and whatnot. I don't know. At this point, it's the classic saying of, if it's not broke, why fix it? The whole connection of Lyft to Google Maps is so seamless, and it's not like, and this is the weird thing to me, it's not like Lyft is losing out on any money per se. For example, let's say I recommended a product, I'm just making this up, let's say like this microphone, right? In case you're curious, when it comes to filming these videos, I use the Blue Yeti microphone. And if I said, hey, check it out on eBay, well, that's a lot different than if I said check it out on Amazon. If you go to either one, eBay or Amazon is going to get my money, or in this case, your money, if you're buying something on either one. However, Lyft is getting the money from people taking lifts, and it's not like, there's some affiliate deal. It's not like there's something where Lyft gets money if you use their GPS, but if you use Google's GPS, they're going to lose out on money. I feel like from a financial perspective, I just don't see it being worth it at all. Like the ROI as a former business person and as a former accountant, to me, just not there. Maybe there is something I'm missing. Who knows? Maybe there's some unique thing where I don't know, they're going to include something within the app that keeps it more in-house where Lyft gets more money. That's theoretically possible. But this to me just seems super random. With all the potential improvements Lyft could do, having a GPS that now has to rival arguably the biggest GPS in the world, Google Maps, I personally just don't see the point.